Diyos. Maraming salamat po sa buhay at lakas na aming taglay, sa liwanag ng kaisipan at sa pagkakataong maipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral ng mga kabataan. Gabayan po ang bawat isa sa amin. Anuman ang bahagi na aming gagampanan, naway maging maayos at matagumpay ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral na aming gagawin sa araw na ito. Patawarin mo po kami sa aming mga pagkulang at pagkakasala. At sa aming paggawa, ikaw po ang aming makasama. Amen.
Pleasant morning, virtual learners of Valenzuela City. I am your teacher for today, Sir Alvin Cantre, who will make your cookie written class fun, exciting, and appetizing. Make sure to have your self-learning module with you so that you will be guided and will be able to apply the learnings that you can get as you answer the module and perform the tasks required in the course. To start our lesson, allow me first to give you an idea of the competency expected of you to develop at the end of the lesson, which is to identify the market forms and cuts of meats. Furthermore, the learning outcome of today's lesson are as follows. 1.1. Identify the market forms and cuts of meats. We are also expected to achieve the following learning objectives. Number 1, identify the market forms and cuts of meats. 2, draw and label the different cuts of meat. And number 3, appreciate the importance of cuts of meat through applying it in different dishes. Now, before we dive deeper with our lesson, let's have first a recap of what transpired in the past. So to do that, I prepared here a challenge for me to determine your past learnings. What should you do is to read and analyze the question, then write your answer on the chat box below. Now, if everybody is ready, then let's begin. Number 1, what is the only way to kill foodborne pathogens? A, by killing them softly. B, by reheating the food. C, by thoroughly cooking the food. Or is it letter D, by placing them in the refrigerator? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter C, then you are correct. Now let's move to number 2. How can you make safe shopping for chicken and poultry? A, buy it first before other items. Letter B, this should be the last item you select before checking out. Letter C, packages of chicken should be wrapped in paper bags. Or is it letter D, packages of chicken and poultry should be sealed together? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter B, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Let's move to number 3. Why is there a need to look at the date of sell by or use by? A, for product expiration. Letter B, for federal compliance. Letter C, for federal regulations. Or is it letter D, for product consumption? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter A, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Let's move to number 4. Why do we need to cover marinated meats and poultry in the refrigerator? A, to avoid having spillage inside the refrigerator. Letter B, to avoid having bad odor inside the ref or refrigerator. Letter C, to avoid cross-contamination of bacteria. Or is it letter D, to maintain the cleanliness of the refrigerator? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter C, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Let's move to the last number. Number 5. What bacteria is prone to contaminate raw chicken and poultry, which is responsible for more cases of food poisoning than any other pathogens if did not follow safe procedures, safe food handling practices, rather. Letter A, bacteria. Letter B, fungi. Letter C, parasite. Or is it letter D, salmonella? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter D, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Very good. It seems that most of you were able to recall our past lesson. Now, this time, I prepared here an analogy game. Now, the mechanics of the game is this. Below are word problems that consist of 2 word pairs. Look at the first pair and decide how the 2 words relate each other. Then select one below so the second pairs of words have the same relationship. Now, the first one is given to you. Wild, untamed, blank, clue. Possible choices, hint, answer, problem. Now, the best answer is hint. Wild and untamed are synonymous words that have similar meanings. Therefore, the second pairs of words must be synonymous to one another. Hint is synonymous for clue. Now, if everybody is ready, now let's play. Number one. Again. Deer, venison, blank, chebon. Choices. Lamb, beef, goat. Your 5 seconds starts now. If your answer for number 1 is goat, then you are correct. Let's proceed to number 2. Cattle, kare-kare. Goat, blank. Sinigang, kaldereta, paksiw. Your 5 seconds starts now. If your answer for number 2 is caldereta, then you are correct. Let's proceed to number 3. Hog, pork, cattle, blank. Choices, venison, chibon, beef. Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered beef, then you are correct. Let's proceed to number 4. Pork ribs, sinigang. Beef shank, blank. Choices, papaitan, sinigang, bulalo or beef stew. Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered bulalo or beef stew, then you are correct. Let's proceed to the last number. Number 5. Tenderloin, beef steak, pork belly, blank. Choices, dinuguan, lechon kawale, pork stew. Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered lechon kawale, then you are correct. Very good. For those who got 5, you give yourself a big round of applause. Now, all of the answers in the game has something to do with our undertakings today, which is all about the market forms and cuts of meat. Okay? When we say meat, it is a flesh of the edible parts of animal, particularly domesticated cow, pigs, and lambs. It is used for cooking, including not only the muscle and the fat, but also the tendons and the ligament. Meats are great sources of protein. They also provide lots of nutrients your body needs, like iodine, iron, zinc, vitamins, especially B12, and essential fatty acid. Now, it gives a complete protein containing all the amino acids needed for the body. The fat of the meat, which differs widely in quality, variety, in cut, is a valuable supply of energy, and it influences the flavor, juiciness, and tenderness of the lean. Eating meat has several benefits or health benefits. Number 1, reduce appetite and increase metabolism. Many studies have shown that high protein diet that includes meat increase metabolic rate, reduces hunger, and promote fullness. Number 2, retention of muscle mass. Number 3, stronger bones. And number 4, better iron absorption. Now, to begin with our discussion, let's start with the market forms of meat. Now, there are many forms or way to market meats, such as fresh meats, chilled meat, cured meat, processed meat, frozen meat, and dry meats. Okay, let's begin first with fresh meat. Fresh meat is a market form of meat that is freshly slaughtered, has not been preserved and frozen. This is meat immediately after slaughter without undergoing chilling or freezing or any other processing treatment. This is the type of meat usually available in the wet and dry market, usually purchased by our mom for cooking different viands and menus. Now, second in the list is chilled meat. It is a market form of meat that is placed in a chiller or placed in a freezer. Chilling of meat is done to prevent or even to reduce the deterioration process, particularly microorganism development rather. Chilling has to be carried out quickly after carcass dosing at the end of the slaughter process, and the chilled state has to be maintained until the meat is processed for consumption. Now, let's move to the third, which is cured meat. It is a market form of meat preserved by salting, smoking, and aging. Curing process enhances the flavor of the meat. This also increases the shelf life of the meat, tenderizes it, and adds flavor. Meat needs to be undisturbed during this period. Now, let's continue with the fourth, which is processed meat. Processed meat is a market form of meat preserved by chemical processes. Processed meat has included many advantages, such as better taste, low possibility of meat-borne diseases, better lifespan, and a high amount of portability. Ham, sausages, pepperoni, and hot dogs are the best examples of processed meat. Now, next in line is frozen meat. Frozen meat is preserved by freezing. Now, there are several advantages for freezing raw meat and poultry. 1, minimal preparation. 2, quality of the meat is retained longer as compared to freezing cooked meat or poultry. The third is food budget ease, when grocery stores specials are used to stock up on favorite cuts. Next is pre-portion and trim meats, save preparation time later. And food is on hand for last-minute changes in meal preparation. And lastly is the dried meat. Meat can also be marketed when it is dried or dehydrated. In the dry aging process, meat hangs in a humidity-controlled environment in a way that exposes all of its sides with unimpeded airflow around the entire cut. You're pulling moisture from the meats over time. As that happens, the mold will extend its life and grow. Itag and tapa are best examples under dried meats. Now, that sums up the market forms of meat. Now that we are done with the market forms of meat, we will now proceed with the different cuts of meat. The meat section of the grocery store can be daunting. Why are some meats more expensive than others? Is a top round top or tender? Why does a porterhouse steak always cost a bit more than a T-bone? Why is it essential that flank steak be cut a certain way? Why is a chuck steak tougher than a rib steak when anatomically they are near each other in the animal? What makes different cuts of meat tough or tender? And how should each other be cooked? Now, the key to understanding the different cuts of meat is to understand where in the animal a certain piece of meat comes from. That is why culinary students spend so much time learning the anatomies of different animals. Meat is a muscle, and different muscle do different things in the body. One of the most important principles of understanding meat is that muscles that work more in the animal are tougher than those that use less. In general, the parts of animal that works the most are the shoulder, the neck, and the leg. The part of the animal that works less are found in the back, especially towards and including the small of the back, which is where we get T-bone and porterhouse steak. Now, let's identify the meat cuts of hog in its description. Let's begin with pork shoulder. This is the cut from the upper part of the shoulder, the widest part. Most common cooking method for pork shoulder include braising, smoking, roasting, grilling, and slow cooking. Next is picnic ham. It is a cut of pork taken from the upper portion of the foreleg, extending into and including the portion of the shoulder. It is not a true ham because it does not come from the back of the leg. The best cuisine for picnic ham is brown sugar glazed baked picnic ham. Another is the country style spare rib. What is a country style pork spare rib? Country style ribs don't usually come from the rib area of a pig. Instead, they come from the shoulder area, specifically from the fatty muscular section of the shoulder blade near the loin. When country style ribs have a bone, then it is not rib bone, but the scapula of the shoulder blade. Oven baked country style ribs and grilled country style ribs are the best menu for it. Another is the front hock. It is a cut from the front leg of the pig. Front hock is a very inexpensive and tough piece of meat that is loaded with connective tissue, ligament, and muscle fiber. When cooked low and slow, however, it yields pork tender meats and very flavorful broth that is used for making stews and soup. Pork hock are available either smoked or unsmoked. Next in the list is pork loin. Pork loin is a cut from the pig's back and is large, lean, and tender. Roasted pork loin and baked garlic pork loin are best recipe for it. Another is pork chop or pork chops. Pork chop, like other meat chops, is a loin cut taken perpendicular to the spine of the pig and is usually rib or part of a vertebra. Pork chops are unprocessed and leaner than other cuts. Chops are commonly served as an individual portion. Pork is one of the most commonly consumed meat in the world. Next in the list is baby back ribs. Baby back ribs come from the part of the ribs that are connected to the backbone beneath the loin muscle and are curved where the meat of the spine. They are called babies because they're shorter rather than spare ribs on the longest end. They're around 6 inches and they are tapered down into about 3 inches on the shoulder end. Baked barbecue baby back ribs is one of the best recipe for it. Another is pork belly. It is the cut coming from the pig's belly. Sliced pork belly with honey garlic sauce, braised and crispy golden pork belly are the best recipe for pork belly. And lastly is the sirloin. Pork sirloin is a cut from the back of the pig. Pork sirloin, also sometimes called pork loin. Pork loin roast and center cut pork roast and pork tenderloin are two different cuts of meats and look very different. The pork tenderloin is long while thin, while the pork sirloin is shorter and not as thin. Now, glazed pork sirloin, roast with pineapple vinaigrette recipe, and garlic herb crusted boneless pork sirloin roast are the best recipe for pork sirloin. Again, pork shoulder, picnic ham, country-style spare rib, front hock, pork loin, and sirloin, pork chop, baby back ribs, and pork belly are the best cut for pork. Now, this time, we will move to the beef or veal. Now, to begin with is a chuck. Beef chuck comes from the forequarter, consisting of parts of the neck, shoulder blade, and upper arm. Beef chuck produces tough but very flavorful cuts of the meat. This primal cut has a good deal of connective tissues. Filipino-style roast beef, braised, and beef mechado are the best menu for this cut. Another is the shank. This is the cut from the leg, very tough and chewy. This beef chunk is the leg portion of a steer or heifer in Britain. The corresponding cut of beef are the shin, pork shank, and the leg, the hind shank. Due to constant use of this muscle by the animal, it tends to be tough, dry, and chewy. So, it is best cooked for a long time in moist heat. Filipino beef shank soup or bulalo is the best menu for this cut. Next in the list is brisket. Brisket is a cut of meat from the breast or lower chest of veal or beef. It is one of the least tender cuts of beef, but braised, smoked, or slowly roasted, it is rendered soft and satisfying with incredible flavor. Another in the list is beef ribs. Short ribs are a cut of beef taken from the brisket, chop, plate, or rib areas of the beef cattle. They consist of a short portion of the rib bone, which is overlaid by meat, which varies in thickness. Beef ribs with barbecue sauce, oven-baked barbecue beef ribs, and slow-cooked short ribs are the best menus for beef ribs. Next in the list is the plate or beef. Plate of beef. The plate of beef is a 4/4 cut from the belly of the cow, just below the rib cut. It is typically cheap, tough, and fatty meat. It is cheaper beef cut, echado, and beef pares are the most favorable menu for this cut. Another in the list is flank steak. Flank steak is a cut of beef taken from the abdominal muscle or lower chest of the steer. French butcher refers to it as babite, which means beef. Lemon garlic butter flank steak with mushrooms and flank steaks are the best menus for this cut. Next in the list is beef loin. It is the cut from the back of the cow above the ribs, one of the tenderest cut. The loin yields the most tender and expensive cut of the beef, but not the most flavorful. The choicest portion is the tenderloin, which is exquisitely tender and lean. The top loin and sirloin aren't as tender, but they're yet more flavorful. Cuts from the loin require very little work to taste great. Next is beef sirloin. It is a cut from the back of the cow, just past the loin. Pretty tender and flavorful. Now, it is a cut of meat and especially of beef from the part of the hind quarter, just in front of the round. Sirloin steak with garlic butter and pan-seared sirloin with mushroom are the best recipe for this cut. And lastly is the round. It is the cut from the back of the cow above the back legs. Chewy and tough. Round steak is a beef steak from the round, the rear leg of the cow. Again, beef chunk, shank, brisket, rib, short leg, flank, loin, sirloin, and round are the best cuts for beef or veal. Now, this time, let's have an activity. Now, the title of the activity is Pick One. Now, what you will do is identify the word being described in the following statements. Select your answer from the box below. You have 5 seconds to answer each question. Now, you can also type your answer on the chat box below. Now, if everybody's ready, then let's begin. Number 1. It is a cut from the breast or lower chest of the beef or veal? Choices are the following: brisket, pork belly, sirloin, or is it baby back ribs? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered brisket, then you are correct. Let's move to number 2. It comes from hog's belly or underside after the loin and spare ribs have been removed. Choices are the following: brisket, pork belly, sirloin, or baby back ribs. Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered pork belly, then you are again correct. Let's move to number 3. It is a cut from the back of the cow just past the loin. Pretty tender and flavorful. Choices are the following: brisket, pork belly, sirloin, or is it baby back ribs? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered sirloin, then you are correct. Let's proceed to number 4. It is a cut from the hog's breast with a lot of meat and egg. Choices are the following: brisket, pork belly, sirloin, or is it spare ribs? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered spare ribs, then you are correct. Let's proceed to number 5. This refers to the cut from the ribs of the lamb. This is also the most expensive cut. Choices are the following: brisket, pork belly, sirloin, or is it chop or rack? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered chop or rack, then you are correct. Now, if you completed answering it without mistake, then you are perfectly ready to move to the next lesson. Now, you give yourself a big round of applause. Now, that sums up our lesson for today. Now, for me to determine how far you got, we're going to explain what to learn today by completing the following: I know, I will apply, and I will share. Example: I know how important the market forms of meat to mankind. I will apply the different meat cuts in my daily menu or cuisine. I will share the importance of meat, their nutrition, and their value to our body. Now, this time, I want you to get your answering notebook and answer the following concept related in our undertakings today. Now, the direction is this: read and analyze the question, then write the letter of the best answer on your quiz notebook or in the comment box below. Let's begin with number 1. It is the flesh of domesticated animal, particularly cow, hog, and lamb. Choices: A, bones, B, fats, C, meats, or is it letter D, poultry? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter C, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Let's proceed to number 2. It is a market form of meat preserved by chemical process. A, chilled meat. B, red meat. C, fresh meat. Or is it letter D, processed meat? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter D, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Let's move to number 3. It is a market form of meat preserved by salting. Choices are the following. Chilled meat, A. Letter B, cured meat. C, fresh meat. Or is it letter D, processed meat? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter B, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Let's move to the 4th one. It is a market form of meat that has not been preserved and frozen. A, red meat. B, fresh meat. C, processed meat. Or is it letter D, chilled meat? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter B, then you got it right. Let's proceed to number 5. Which of the following is the tenderest cut of beef? A, brisket. B, loin. C, sirloin. Or is it letter D, chop? Your 5 seconds starts now. If you answered letter B, then put a check on your paper because you are correct. Now count the number of correct item over 5. If you got 5 over 5, then you are great. You are now ready to the next stage of our lesson. Very good. Keep up your good work. Now this time, for your assignment, ask your parent to design a meat menu. Create a clear description of the menu with a pork or a beef in it. What meat would you choose and the method of cooking you will employ and why? You will be graded following the rubric for scoring or the scoring rubrics. Now, if you have questions or clarifications regarding the lesson, please free to ask your subject teacher in T.L.E. And they are very much willing to answer all your queries. Now, that ends our lesson this morning. Again, happy morning and have a great day ahead. See you next time. Bye-bye.